But
If there's a ton of people there and we're there at midnight and 20 people still want to speak, they may adjourn the meeting to a second date. I just want to throw that out there.
okay.
But is that meeting on the 20th associated with the environmental impact study, or can they talk about anything?
Yeah, we're gonna, and just so everyone's aware, the mayor's planning on doing a public forum tomorrow at Munson at 6 to 8, and we intended to address, part of it was to address the budget, part of it is to address the St. E's, and we, as part of that presentation, intended to address your question. The public comment period that's on the 20th is strictly a public comment period on the draft generic environmental impact statement. So all comments that are received will be taken and made a part of the final environmental impact statement. Some will be addressed. Those comments that will be addressed are those that directly pertain to the environmental impact statement. If you come in and you just say, well, I want single-family homes there, okay, but at the end, that doesn't get to the environmental impact statement, which is the point of the public comment. It's also not going to be a question and answer or a give and take. You come up, you make your comment, and basically, you're done.
Two more questions.
Mm-hmm.
School of nursing. Is St. Elizabeth's looking to sell that now?
I'm not part of MVHS, so I don't know.
Have you heard the rumor?
I've heard that there's a rumor out there.
Okay. They weren't going to do that.
Throughout the planning process, they've insisted that they were not going to do that, and that actually is a benefit to any developers because it provides a lease income, a revenue stream.
And again, you're saying MVHS has been a partner in this,
Mm-hmm.
but if they're saying 25 million to tear it down, you're saying that the developer is going to have to come up with that 25 million, or is MVHS putting any skin in the game?
MVHS is not going to put anything in for the demolition.
Thank you.
Now, is it possible that there's state and federal grant funding?
Oh, yeah, and then
It's possible, but then we're back at the historic issue.
So, is there a chance that the county can assist in the demolition costs?
Well,
No, I mean,
I'm a city employee. I'm
No,
not going to speak for the county executive
But
or the county legislature.
has the county ever come forward and said that they would be, they'd be willing to assist in the demolition cost?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Understand that while this is going on, the redevelopment of St. Luke's is also going on. The county paid for that study, and it was considerably more than what we're paying for the study of St. E's. So I'm just throwing that out there as food for thought.
Because Tim Julian, who's our 19th legislator, I've asked him through an email as far as if he could speak to the county executive to see as far as if, number one, the county can assist if in fact if the site's going to be demolished, and number two, potentially if the county's going to assist, can they use their own equipment to demolish the site, because that would reduce costs. So I've asked those two questions of our 19th legislator, but I haven't heard back from him. So hopefully, you know, I'll have an answer from him soon.
Again, the county doesn't have ARPA funds, I don't believe. They, in all likelihood, to come up with any significant amount of money, have to bond for it. And I don't know that you can legally bond for improvements on property you don't own. So, and I don't know that the county is looking to take site control.
But
So again, I'm not going to speak for the county, but I would find it doubtful.
Where is the March 20th meeting?
Common Council Chambers, City Hall,
Time?
4:30.
Thank you.
Joe, our councilperson, would you like to?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. For those I haven't met, my name is Joe Betar. I'm your councilperson here in the 3rd Ward. There was a question earlier about what, if anything, the council might be able to do to steer this project in a direction that the community supports. Several months ago, I see Mr. Morris here. He asked the same question, what the council might be able to do. And one of the things considered at that time was potentially bonding for potential demolition. And the way this looks is it's kind of twofold. The first is the site or part of the site is demolished. The second is it may give the city a financial stake in the property, because we were talking a lot about the developer being able to do what they want with the property once they own it. However, if the city were to bond or potentially have another way to have a financial stake in the property, we as a community might be in a better position to steer that, where now, whether it's right of first refusal or another option that might come into play is the council making potential amendments to zoning in that area, depending on what the neighbors see as the best fit for that area. So I did just want to address that, a few things the council might be able to do. I've spoken privately with a few of my colleagues on the council regarding potentially bonding, and another aspect of that is one of the questions was receipt of state or federal funds and the impact it might have on what goes there. If we do keep it at a local level of funding, city and county, it really allows Utica and the county to have more of a say in matching what the neighbors want instead of being told what has to go there, regardless of what that is. The state and federal funds, a lot of times they say, there's strings attached. So that's an example of another way to kind of avoid that from happening. But I just wanted to mention that, and I apologize for being late. There was a meeting at City Hall. I was supposed to be here earlier. I just wanted to mention that too. But if anyone has questions.
Would bonding raise our taxes?
Bonding has to be paid
Yeah,
off.
you guys only want to approve a budget right now, and you're going to bond for that?
Well, here's the other option.
I don't wanna hear it.
We do nothing, and NVHS can sell it to anyone, and they can put whatever they want in our community. So if that's I'm sorry?
They shouldn't be able to do that, okay? You say that they can sell to
Open up a
whoever,
can of worms.
and they want, they can do whatever they want to the property. Well, they shouldn't be able to do that, and, it is, it is, and it's unfair the way they've left us, and I think they need to step up to the plate with some of this financial. I don't care what their finances are, they need to figure it out, but they need to help the city redevelop that in a conducive way, and not the cheapest way, and not the fastest way, and this 25 million keeps growing. 5 years ago, we talked about demolishing it, it was 5 million. A couple of years ago, it was 10 million. Now, the last meeting we had, not even 6 months ago, they said 20 million, now it's at 25 million. I mean, I don't, the cost just keeps going up, and they keep going up because they want to discourage us from demolishing it, okay, and making it scenic and historic with apartments. I mean, it just seems like we're playing this money game here, and
I think that's a great question about the rising cost of the government.
We should go back up front.
Rich, we're not doing that.
He's attacking.
I know, we're not,
no,
it's not.
it's not,
Well,
I'm
that's
fine.
what it looks like.
Right. I'm fine.
One of the great points you made too is the speed of, I think you mentioned how quickly you do something there. I think it's worth taking the extra time.
No, I don't want to do anything quickly at all.
Yeah, because I mean.
But
you can't
I don't want
really
MVHS to do something quickly.
Yeah.
I don't want them to have a proposal with deeming the building historic and putting in apartments. And they just want to get rid of it. They need it gone. They can't, I mean, again, it's a cost of doing business, and the hospital's, in the line of business. And their first thing is going to be, how fast can we get it gone and for how much can we get? And that's really their only input. It's us that has to hold their feet to the fire and say, no, we're not going to allow this. And I think if we speak up, we have enough pull to do that. I really do. And
A great point you just made too. So the original St. Elizabeth building was built in 1917, over 100 years ago. So this is how long as a community we're going to be faced with whatever the decision is that's going to be made another 100+ years into the future. So I want to hone in on what you said too about the speed in which we decide to do something. Because it might be taking the extra 6 months, the extra year, to make sure something goes in there that the community can enjoy instead of something being quickly put there. And now in 10 years, we all look around saying, what happened here?
Yeah.
You know, so I agree, so great points, thank you.
So Joe,
Yeah.
so then somebody should look at the original architect of the building. If the building was smaller than what it is today, then the original architecture of the building is what to be concerned with, instead of any additions. So the additions can be taken down. That part of the building could stay up. I'm certainly sure it's a smaller sized building.
For scenic and historic purposes, so
Well,
that
no,
main
just-
building,
We're
yeah.
talking about the condos, if the hospital decides to do something like that. So if a developer comes in, they wouldn't say that whole structure that they would keep would be the original design of the hospital.
Yeah, and that's something to look at, what the original design is
Yeah,
versus
we don't
what
know
are the
that,
buildings.
though.
I mean, the parking garage is a good example.
Yeah,
That
right.
was, you know,
And
I
the-
think
You'll actually find that in the DGA, the draft environmental impact statement.
in the document on the city
Yep, okay,
website,
great.
yeah.
It's all within the 1,700 pages.
City
Okay,
website.
said that.
Yep.
There's the
I
original
think
hospital.
everybody should look at the
That's
proposal
the
or
original
your own
hospital.
proposal and see the pros and cons. Because we can come up with some good ideas of what it should be, but then you have the other side that says, then it's no longer taxable. Then it's cost a lot of money. It cost this, cost that. So I think, in our own mind, for our own peace of mind, at the end of the day, we have to evaluate the pros and cons.
Could it be what West Utica has?
Could you tell us, instead of saying MVHS, who is making the decisions for MVHS? Who is the person? Now, you keep on saying MVHS, okay, who do I call and say, who represents the MVHS?
Well, they have a CEO that works for the board.
So we could call Darlene Stromstad and say, so she is responsible for the decision.
In partnership with the board, I assume, yes.
Also the board. So which
Well, she
one
works
is
for
it?
the board.
Yeah, she's not a
The board
dictator.
Or Darlene Stromstad? So who should we call and say, who's running the show?
Again, she works for the board.
Whomever you know.
Joe,
I didn't get an answer.
Whomever you know.
Okay, who's the board?
I assume, I don't know the
Everybody says
board.
the board. So now I have to Google it to find out all these people. You're getting us to go through all these steps. I'm 70 years old. I'm gonna be dead in 20 years. Okay? Yeah, I am. Gonna be dead.
Good night.
Good night, okay? Now, we wasted, how many years have we done since the hospital is closed?
if there's historic part there, could
I
it
got
be
the
what
floor.
West
Excuse me.
Utica had, like old Maine?
Why is he talking? I've asked a question.
Could it be like old Maine?
You
the
answered it.
historic
Yeah,
part
I'm
of
sorry,
it?
I don't know what question you asked that I didn't answer.
Well, you keep on saying MVHS is making the decision. You say the board. So do we have all the people that are on
If
the
you're looking to
board?
contact one person, I would try to reach out to Darlene. But ultimately, at the end of the day, she works for the board.
And the board has a president, I suspect, and it probably also has a secretary, so that you can direct
Yeah,
your...
I'm gonna be dead pretty soon.
Yeah, so am I.
Three people-
I'm older than you are.
You're 10 years older than us.
All right, so we're gonna go to the next question.
But no, I got the floor. You let him go on, pretend like go in there, and now
What
we're
do you
done.
want, do you want any?
I want an answer, okay, so the board is the people we gotta get a hold of, is, okay? So it's another
Can we
word.
get the contact information from you, can I email that? Can I get that from you?
I don't know who sits on the board. I'm sure if you Google MVHS,
We'll go, yeah, we'll put it in, we'll put it in the minutes for.
Okay, no, I don't Google anything there. When I call hotels, I think.
Yeah.
Vice Chairman,
Yeah, I'll
Karen
put
Leach,
it in the email.
Secretary.
March 20th.
2 seconds.
Go. It's on their website, yeah, look at the home of the website, okay, no.
You wanna do what you do.
That's
You wanna
right,
make
you
it
don't.
sneak, then make it sneak out loud.
All right.
All right, so do we have other
Have a great day,
questions?
Heather. Hope you.
Bye.
Richard someone.
All right, does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, we'll all take a deep breath right now. Let's all take a deep breath. Okay, thank you very much. Do you have another, yep?
I just want to say this, okay, the reason why I came here tonight was to talk about the generic environmental impact statement, okay? Again, it's 60 pages, okay? It lists all the alternatives and what the alternatives are going to be for each one of those alternatives, whether it's good or bad. Okay, there's a section in regard to hazardous materials. You'll see within the 16 to 1,700 pages, the actual asbestos studies. There's comments within the studies that say that the floor tiles have asbestos in it. The mastic has asbestos in it. The grouting has asbestos in it. There's lead paint. Okay, I mean, and the last study that was done was 2014, I believe?
I believe so.
Yeah, so but it also states in the study that there should be more testing, okay, for asbestos, lead, all the hazardous materials. There should be another study that takes place before that property is sold. Okay.
That's why it costs 25 million.
Pardon me?
That's why it costs 25 million to demolish it.
Oh, well, I think that's a cost above and beyond the 25 million. I think that's a separate cost.
No, I believe that's included.
That's included? Okay. So basically, that was my intent here, okay, is to basically to make sure there's public input in regard to all the different categories as far as impacts on the actual reuse of the property, whether it's traffic, whether it's hazardous materials, whether it's historic, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, it's all contained in the 60 pages. Okay, and you can form your own conclusion as far as how you feel about that. And if you feel that basically you need to make a statement, then do it publicly at the March 20th meeting, or in written format, and you have until May 4th to submit your written comment. It's going to go to Brian, and Brian's going to give it to the planning board. And then will there be some type of release as far as the response to these comments?
The final generic environmental impact statement will have a full listing of all comments received and, if appropriate, a response.
So, yeah, let me just finish.
Go ahead.
So, the other thing is that hopefully, as I mentioned earlier, because MVHS owns 11 properties on Lower Valentine Bray, okay, they have hopefully they realize they have a big stake in this game too, okay, because those 11 properties are across the street from me, and Debbie, you're my neighbor, and they're across the street from you. So I gotta live there, okay? I gotta live there, no matter what happens to that property. And if I don't like it, then, to quote Judge Judy, okay, because all the seniors love Judge Judy, right? And I'm a senior, I'm 70 years old. If you don't like it, you move, okay? And I'm afraid that basically if something goes in there that's not beneficial to the neighborhood's going to go to shit. And pardon my French. And then you know what? The last gem of this city is gone. Forever. Forever. So, but the one thing we have in our back pocket at this point as far as our neighborhood is the conservation easement and the settlement agreement. Because we do have a permanent boundary. Okay, and there's a successor clause in those agreements that pertain to anybody that buys that property. Yes.
You mentioned that you're head of a neighborhood group. Now, I live in South Utica, but not immediately adjacent to the proposed project. My question would be, the neighbors that are immediate to the project, have you ever polled them or whatever? Which one of the 4 proposals that are on the city website do they prefer? And if none, what is their proposal?
Heather can answer this question too, because she did her own polling, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I'll answer that question, because basically whenever there's a public meeting in regard to the use of the property, I take that meeting announcement, I go down to print shop, have like 1,000 copies printed, and I go door to door on Valentine Bray, Gear Ave, Douglas Crescent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and put that flyer in the mailbox saying, come to the meeting, okay? And I think we've had pretty good success with turnout in all the public meetings. So all the people that I've talked to, they want single-family housing. They don't want the...
What number is that?
As far as in the... Let's see, I believe that's number 1.
Do you know, Brian, what number that is?
I don't.
That's number 2 in the master plan
Okay.
document. So what scares the neighborhood with the historic reuse is the fact that there's going to be 252 apartments, and we got too many apartments in this city as it is. Okay, we got apartments all over the place. I mean, look at the big complex down on Berg Street. They can't even get anybody to go in there, and it looks like a war zone down there. And what we're afraid of as far as the neighborhood is concerned is we're afraid of not getting a good I don't want to be saying the wrong word, but we want the right people to be renting those apartments. We don't, you know, I watch OPL, which is On Patrol Live, and basically all you see the police doing is going to these neighborhood apartments because of the crime and stuff. We don't want that. We don't want that in our city. We don't want that in our neighborhood. So people are concerned about that historic reuse.
What about condos like they did with UCA?
I'm just one person, okay? I have one voice.
Upscale condominiums.
I think that's part of one of the uses.
We can do a couple more questions.
So I'm in a unique spot, you know, my house is literally surrounded on 2 sides by hospital property. I've seen the easement, it's mostly turned over. Should the hospital sell to somebody for historic use, or the condos, or whatever they choose to do, the hospital used to have 200 beds. If they choose to do the apartments, they have 252 apartments. So it's more than doubling what we're getting out on a daily basis. Is the hospital or MDHS required to put back any of the green space that they charred over, or replant trees, or grass, or anything?
No.
No?
I mean,
Just wondering if I have like 250 people staring into my backyard, or maybe it'll get actually.
Thomas, do you have questions?
Quick question, you mentioned a couple things at the end there, just want to clarify. Are you saying that apartment buildings, people who live there are more violent? And also, in terms of people who rent, is there a shortage of housing, or is there not a shortage of housing?
I'll probably get crucified for this, but I'm not a fan of Section 8. I'm not a fan of it, okay? I think it leads to problems. And I think that basically if there's 252 apartments and they can't lease them or rent them or whatever, I think that the property owner can still rent or lease to a Section 8 person. And in my opinion, I don't think that's the right way to go.
I think that's opinion based, so we'll skip past that part now. Is there any other questions on that? Okay. All right, thank you. Can we give Don a round of applause? He did a really good job. He did all that work. Thank you, Brian.
Go on the website, read the first 60 pages.